turn, I'll show you real shrunken heads, the world's smallest car, and ginormous cockroaches. There are all kinds of museums in this world, from art, natural history, to science and industry. But did you know that there's a museum dedicated to some of the most bizarre things you've ever seen? Welcome to Ripley's Believe It or Not Auditorium in New York's Times Square.
An auditorium is a museum, but like no museum you've ever seen before. When you walk in, you will be confronted with some of the strangest, most unusual artifacts that have ever been compiled in one place. So we felt that it was very important to differentiate ourselves from a typical museum, especially for kids, because as they come in, they're going to constantly be looking around and say, I don't believe what I'm seeing, hence the name Ripley's Believe It or Not Auditorium.
So who was Robert Ripley?
He actually started as a newspaper journalist, and through his travels became fascinated with the bizarre and the unusual. It was kind of like the real-life Indiana Jones, and lived by the adage that fact is stranger than fiction.
The auditorium has hundreds of exhibits, from freaks of nature to medieval torture devices to some very strange customs. Stephen Ekstrom is our guide through this weird and wonderful place. There's so much to see that I asked Stephen to show us his top 5 favorite exhibits. So, where do we start?
This way.
Okay.
We're going to start with my 5th favorite thing here in the attraction, and that is the world's largest public display of shrunken human heads. These are all real human heads, like this one right here, which were shrunk by the Jivaro tribe of Ecuador and Peru. We've got about 24 on display here, and that's more than you'll find even at the Smithsonian.
How does a head shrink like that?
We actually have a 10-step recipe up on the wall, but it starts with beheading your enemy, preferably when they're dead. Then you stew it and smoke it. It's kind of like leathering. And you remove the skull, of course, before that. And you fill it with hot sand and stone and rocks so that it actually shrinks down to the point where it's only about big enough to fit into your hand.
So that's just the skin?
That is just the skin.
No bones?
No bones. All right, I hope you're ready, because now I'm going to show you my number 4 favorite thing here at the attraction.
Okay.
It's this right here. This is the world's smallest production car. This right here is a Peel Trident. They come from England. And as you can see, they seat 2 people rather uncomfortably. It's electric powered, goes about 40 miles an hour, and it's easy to park it. You can put it just about anywhere.
So what makes this different than a toy car or a golf cart?
Well, golf carts, of course, don't go 40 miles an hour.
That's true.
That's one big thing. The other thing that makes this different from a toy car is that this is actually street legal. And this is street legal and sold in England. Now, if you want...
I want to drive it.
You want to drive it?
Let's go for a drive.
Do you have your license?
I have my license.
Okay. Let me give you a lesson here.
Beep, beep. Hey, move out of the way. Okay, so what's your number 3?
Funny thing about number 3 is that I almost ate it. And it's this right here. It's a portrait of Barack Obama, but it's made entirely of gumballs, almost 13,000 of them.
All right, Stephen, so we're up to number 2. What is your number 2 favorite exhibit?
They're right over here. Climb on in. These are live hissing cockroaches from Madagascar. There's a whole family of them, and they're edible.
Oh my gosh.
And you can see you're completely surrounded by these lovable, delicious, and friendly characters that we call our pets.
I'm out of here. No, really. It's a little creepy.
But if you thought that was creepy, I actually got one out earlier. So, you can hold it. And I appreciate the fact that you tucked yourself into the corner. Because...
I just...
Here you go.
No, I really don't want to hold it.
You sure?
I really don't want
Do you want to just pet it?
I really don't want to.
Would you mind just petting it? Making it feel friendly? Go for it. They don't bite. All you've got to worry about is running up your hand and up your sleeve.
I'm just feeling like it's this weird...
Just like this. See?
Okay, I think we're ready for your top favorite exhibit out of all of the exhibits.
We are. And have you ever heard of mad scientists?
Yes.
Well, mad scientists were studying what made the mad mad, what made criminals criminals, what made the crazy people crazy. This gentleman over here, about 200 years ago, was convicted of a crime in France. After he was beheaded, his head was set in this preservative by mad scientists who were trying to figure out what made him mad. And if you take a look at it, you can see his brain, his eye sockets, his tongue, and if you look at it from the side, you can even see his eyelashes.
Oh my gosh. There are Ripley's auditoriums all around the country that attract thousands of visitors every year. In the movie Night at a Museum, Ben Stiller actually spends the night in a museum. Would you ever spend the night in a museum like this?
We actually have people who do. We do fascinating overnight programs here at the attraction.
Would I like to spend the night here in this museum? Are you kidding? For Teen Kids News, I'm Amanda.